The fire that shook the nation. In the early hours of dawn, as the sun began to rise over northern Burkina Faso, hell was unleashed. Gunfire echoed across the quiet plains. Explosions lit up the sky. And in just a few short hours, over 50 brave soldiers lay dead, their base overrun, looted, and burned to ashes. This was not just an attack. It was a message, from the shadows of the Sahel to the heart of West Africa. A message that Burkina Faso is bleeding, and the fire of insurgency is far from over. Who launched this devastating ambush? How did they bypass one of the nation's key military installations? And what does it mean for the future of a country already trapped in a war with no front lines? This is the story of Boulsa. The story of betrayal, bravery, and burning questions that still remain unanswered. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe the world must hear the truth behind these forgotten battles. If you stand with those risking their lives for peace. If you want more fearless stories from the front line of Africa's silent wars. Subscribe now. Your voice matters. 2. The target. Boulsa military base. In the dry heartland of northern Burkina Faso, where dust meets determination, stood the Boulsa military base, a fortress once seen as a line of defense against the rising tide of terror. Nestled in a region frequently stalked by jihadist groups, Boulsa was more than a base, it was a symbol of state strength in a nation under siege. But symbols can be shattered. The base held strategic weight. It sat at the crossroads of militant movement corridors, guarding routes between jihadist hotspots in Mali, eastern Burkina, and Niger. It housed dozens of elite soldiers, arms stockpiles, and critical communications infrastructure. It was built to withstand attacks. It was meant to show the world, Burkina Faso will not fall. But cracks were already showing. In recent months, intelligence warned of increasing militant movements in the surrounding forests and villages. Locals whispered of strange visitors, foreign dialects, and sudden disappearances. But warnings fell on deaf ears, or worse, were ignored by a government too stretched and too secretive. By the time the enemy came, Boulsa was surrounded, and its silence would soon turn into the roar of war. Like, share, and subscribe for the untold stories of soldiers on the edge, for the truth behind fallen walls and forgotten warnings, for those who still hold the line. Hit that subscribe button and stay informed. 3. The attack. Jihad in the shadows. It began just before sunrise. Shadows moved in from the north, east, and west, silent, coordinated, ruthless. What came next was not chaos, it was precision. A brutal, calculated strike that turned the Boulsa military base into a battlefield of fire, smoke, and blood. Phase 1. The encirclement. Dozens of militants, believed to be part of JNIM, Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, an al-Qaeda-linked group, surrounded the base under cover of night. No alarms were raised. No reinforcements arrived. The soldiers inside were isolated before the first shot was even fired. Phase 2. The breach. With explosives rigged and rifles ready, the attackers launched a coordinated frontal assault. They used motorbikes and pickup trucks, classic insurgent mobility tactics. The base's perimeter crumbled in minutes. Soldiers fought back, but outgunned and outnumbered, they were pushed deeper into the compound. Phase 3. The firestorm. The attackers stormed the armory and looted weapons, communication gear, and supplies. Buildings were torched, vehicles set ablaze, the air filled with thick, choking smoke, the kind that signals not just defeat, but humiliation. By the time the shooting stopped, over 50 Burkinabe soldiers had fallen. Many others were wounded, missing, or scattered into the wilderness. No militant casualties were officially confirmed. The attackers vanished into the trees, like ghosts, leaving only ash and silence behind. IV. The suspects. JNIM's expanding war. The blood on the ground at Boulsa carries a name, JNIM, or Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin. An al-Qaeda affiliate born in the deserts of Mali, now spreading like wildfire across the Sahel. But who are they, really? And how did they become the deadliest force in Burkina Faso? A coalition of shadows. JNIM isn't just one group. It's a network of jihadist factions, Ansar Dine, the Makina Liberation Front, and Al-Murabitun, unified under one brutal mission. Greater than to create an Islamic state across West Africa, by any means necessary. In the past year, JNIM has launched over 300 attacks across Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Their methods: ambushes, roadside bombs, village massacres, targeted assassinations. But what makes them dangerous isn't just their violence. It's their strategy. Terror by design. While state forces struggle with poor coordination and corruption, JNIM moves with discipline and intelligence. They exploit ethnic tensions, especially involving the Fulani people, offer protection, food, and basic justice in abandoned rural areas. Use drone surveillance, encrypted communication, and stolen weapons. Every time the government fails a village, JNIM moves in and takes over. Why Boulsa? Why now? Boulsa was a symbol, and symbols are meant to fall. By striking it, JNIM shattered military confidence, proved that even strongholds can be breached, sent a message to the junta: you may hold the cities, but we own the wilderness. And with every victory, their ranks grow, not just through fear, but through desperation. The aftermath. A nation on edge. When the smoke cleared over Boulsa, the silence was deafening. No victory chants, no parades, only the sound of mourning families and the distant hum of fear spreading through the north. This wasn't just a military loss. It was a psychological earthquake. The government's response: rage and reassurance. The junta, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, quickly issued statements of defiance. Justice will be served. The fight continues. Troop reinforcements were sent. Surveillance was increased. But no one has been held accountable, and no top commanders were removed. Instead, the regime doubled down on control, arresting journalists who questioned the military's failure and silencing local witnesses. Public reaction. From loyalty to loss of faith. In cities like Ouagadougou, people lit candles. In rural villages, anger boiled over. Parents asked, why were our sons left to die? Veterans whispered, we're fighting ghosts with empty rifles. Confidence in the military plummeted, especially among volunteers and militias now fearing they'll be the next target. The human cost. Over 50 soldiers dead, countless wounded and missing. Civilians in nearby towns like Zidenga and Kongusi have begun fleeing their homes, afraid the attackers will return. Local schools and clinics shut down, creating new waves of displacement and fear. Burkina Faso is not just bleeding. It's breaking. International silence or support. Despite the scale of the attack, the international response has been muted. No UN investigation. No regional military surge. Only whispers of concern, as if the Sahel is too far gone to save. And JNIM knows this. Like, share and subscribe. Because silence is surrender. Because the fallen deserve more than forgotten headlines. If you believe the world must listen, subscribe now and raise your voice.